All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Nerds Talk About the Boys, the show where we do exactly what the fuck you think we do. I'm Hitch,
And I'm
and
DP.
we're here to talk about the boys, season 2, episode 5. We gotta go now. And I'm excited to
Gotta
talk
go,
about
gotta
this
go.
episode before we get into all the stuff we want to talk about, all the crazy stuff, the extremely hilarious cartoon gore violence that we see every week on the boys. DP, why don't you tell the good people where they can find us like we always want you to do?
All right, Hitch. We are at nerdcyclopedia.com. That's where you can find all our links to our favorite social media outlets like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, of course, which is what you're watching right now, and also Instagram at nerdcyclopedia. Make sure that you guys are emailing us with your feedback. We love to get your feedback
Yeah.
at nerdcyclopedia.com. Leave some comments down below. As we post this on Facebook, as we post this on YouTube and everything. We love the comments. We love responding to the feedback we have for this
Mm-hmm.
show because it is so wonderful. And also make sure that, like I said before, go to nerdcyclopedia.com and make sure that you're checking us out right there.
Check us out. We have a lot of fun stuff. We talk about shows like The Boys, like The Mandalorian. We'll have season 2 of our The Mandalorian show, Bounty Hunter BS, coming out shortly. We just confirmed cast is back, so
All
super
right.
exciting.
Awesome. Cannot wait.
We're all glad about that. So we're excited to talk about that later. But today we're going to talk about The Boys, and this show is. This is sort of our blue show, right? This is like the 10 p.m. the 10 p.m. show. So so I think what's really nice about The Boys is, we'll start it off here because this was our action item. We agreed on this. So let's talk about the Dawn of the Seven, the movie, and let's talk a little bit about the Dawn of the Seven because, in my opinion, this movie is gonna stink.
you think? You think? You think? Oh man! I mean, the way they positioned and presented it, and the way the lines were just flowing. The dialogue just flowing in this episode, as far as that particular scene and everything, it was just greatness.
Yeah. One thing that I really appreciate is that it's a real love letter to getting stuck making a superhero movie. You know what I mean? From the guy who played the Green Hornet is what it is. This is so like it's an inside baseball
You
thing.
talk about like you told ironically
Yes.
Seth Rogen,
Yes,
who
yes, yes.
actually
Yeah.
he's actually a producer, executive producer on this
Exactly,
series.
exactly. So the Green Hornet is just taking the piss out of making a superhero movie. All the dialogue is very stilted. The plotting is very very boring. It's obvious that this is the culmination of some sort of Marvel universe that WONT has set up.
Hmm.
But the weird thing in this universe is like, nobody thinks that, Mark Ruffalo is not going to turn into the Hulk and smash a bunch of stuff, right? Like nobody here thinks that. But these guys have this weird, like it's almost like a pro wrestling style kayfabe. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's like if pro wrestling were real, and I really should have been as afraid of The Rock in 1999 is like The Rock told me I should have
Right,
been, right? It's exactly like that.
right.
It's a bizarre, super American phenomenon that's so interesting. And I think The Boys takes the piss out of that so well. Because look, I mean, before the quarantine here, before we had, 2020, the year that the sun never rose on. You know what I mean? Before this happened, we were inundated with superhero movies that were, all somewhat formulaic. And I think the Marvel Universe deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean they brought in like the formula and everything, and people or studios copied off
Mm.
that. But yeah, you're right. Before everything happened this year in the year
Mm.
2020, we were inundated with superhero movies left and
Yeah.
right. Now we're left with
It's
nothing.
just been
You
we
know.
didn't even get the Black Widow movie this year we were supposed to get. Like we got, if you like superhero
Yeah.
movies, this is like a desert.
Oh man. Oh man. I mean, it's definitely a change. You keep getting these movies pushed back because the studios they have some of them already made, but they want to make the most money, most amount of money
Mhm.
possible. So they just keep pushing back, waiting for people to head into the theaters. People don't want to go to
It,
the theaters right now, but they keep pushing back. It's a wait and see, push and pull, push and pull. But this the way that the boys position the Dawn of the
mhm.
Seven, sort of like a Zack Snyder takeoff, Dawn of
Right.
Justice, the way that the film looked, the film, the dusty, the whole destruction and everything that took place. And, Maeve, and she's sitting there, reciting her dialogue. And, they put Maeve's sexuality like front and center, right on the screen right there. Last episode we got her, Homelander revealing, that she was, a lesbian and everything,
surprising
so
her,
now all that
outing her maliciously,
yeah,
like on national television, no less, right? Wow,
yeah,
what a heinous thing to do.
It's so bad. It's just so Homelanderish.
And when you look at how Homelander and Vought are sort of treating Maeve, they are pandering so hard. They're just trying so hard to say, look, inclusion, without any sort of nod to any sort of character development. It's just sort of like, I met a lesbian, I'm a lesbian now. Which I don't know that's how that happens. I don't know that stuff.
So it's kind of disingenuous in a way, because you see like the behind the scenes on how they react, on how they want to capitalize, on how they want to actually market and, take this and spin it. The spin doctrine that's going on is just it's sickening in a way, but it's just eye-opening, incredible, because this happens, for real. She's outed. So after a little after, the take happens and everything, they bring her back and her girlfriend back, and they're trying to they got like pitchmen.
How about the return of Mr. I froze my dick off inside a superhero?
Yeah.
How about that guy?
Oh, man.
Obviously has
man.
no dick.
Yeah.
No dick at all. He's totally dickless. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because there's no way they would have introduced a dickless character if they didn't mean to say this guy's dickless. And they're saying like, look, we're gonna be formulaic, we're gonna be very, this is my thing. I think Vought is Disney if Disney actually made the wonders they put on the screen, right? That's what Vought is.
Right.
If Disney's real thing wasn't necessarily making movies about, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but was really about guarding the galaxy, so to speak, right? Like if Walt Disney's, if Disney was, instead of being run as an entertainment company, if it was being run by Walt Disney's frozen head in a jar somewhere, as an evil cabal, right? That's what I think of as Vought, right? And it's so weird to see them like taking these moments that I felt in the Marvel universe were earned, right? Like there was character depth to that scene in Endgame, for instance, where the women like shepherd the gauntlet, right? They take it away from Thanos, and it's a big move, and it's a movement, and it's a great.
It really, you're right. It really reminded me of that point too. I don't know if they filmed this in conjunction with seeing like Avengers Endgame. I
don't know how you.
But
don't. They obviously like this, if you're gonna make this show and you're making it for this society, Endgame is the movie now, right? It's the culmination. It's like the apex movie still. It's been a year and a half.
Well, just as a side note, it's sort of funny how we got that as the last big blockbuster before everything has happened. But anyway, but so you get like so you get like the end scene of that particular the movie scene about girls get it on. Girls get it done. Or we even get it done. Girls get it done.
Whatever, like.
But Homeland says girls get it on.
Yeah, he's girls get it. No. This. But it's interesting to see it inverted and pushed as a simulacrum of that, right? So what is false empowerment? What is the opposite of that earned moment, right? It's this bolted on, no organic piece of the story, just thunk, here it is, right?
Right.
So that's what makes it so hollow. And so what Vaught's doing is they're layering on the entertainment to match reality, right? So they're creating a simulacrum of reality that is false and hollow, exactly like this movie is a false and hollow version of the Marvel movies.
Yeah. And then
which is an impressive construction, which we should call out.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like the Justice League. So if Justice League was actually, in this universe and everything, obviously it would be the Seven. So you have this big corporation behind the Seven. So the ironic, funny, and hilarious and sort of just crazy thing is that they're making movies of themselves. So they're already heroes saving the world and everything, but yet and still you have a movie being made about them with them actually starring in it and playing the roles of themselves in the movie. How does that even where's the propaganda, like the you have Vault product everywhere. We even get into another scene with Billy Butcher. He's in the after getting beat up, in the nightclub and everything. He goes into like a grocery store, and we see Vault Fresh Farms Fresh or something like that. We see a bunch of different seven, standing.
Yeah, they're
What do
like
you call
just
them? Standing at. Yeah. We
cardboard
see a
cutouts.
bunch of those, like, yeah, cardboard cutouts. In like a CVS type, store and
Uh-huh.
everything. But my thing was we're seeing Vault product like
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's just amazing how their hands are so deep into like the American psyche as far as product
Mhm.
placement within everything from even the beginning like of last season all the way up until what we're seeing right now. Vault 7 product is
Yep.
everywhere.
It's ubiquitous, and Vought as a corporation is enormous. It's probably bigger than any. It's got to be like Wayne Enterprises or Stark. You know what I mean? Or Stark Industries or something like that. Sort of
So
comically
so
big.
so it's like ask you this question. What if the police that we hold dear and protect, for us to protect and serve, what if they was actually made into celebrities, and we some Disney corporation got behind them and started actually promoting and making action figures of of different individual like sheriffs or
We
commissioners or what
covered
have
this
you.
show last year, and Watchmen was great, and it was really excellent, right? A really great show, and we saw what
Yeah.
would happen if the police detectives started donning personas and began getting press and started having
Oh
secret
man.
identities.
Point.
So
Yeah, yeah.
in a weird this is a weird sense, and I almost get I almost want to address something about being like this time as this time is that art imitates life, and it's hard sometimes to see what direction the arrow points. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope that the people that actually eventually do dig this up for my eventual funeral know that it was a very very confusing time, and we never knew what was going on because there was a lot of chaff out there. So uh, let's
Oh,
talk a little bit um, about the scene that sort of precipitates the downfall of Homelander. Let's talk about Homelander's
okay.
tarnishing in the eyes of the public. Remember,
Okay.
season one
Yeah.
involves Homelander being violent and committing murders, including of I think the mayor of Baltimore, which I guess neither of
Mm-hmm.
us are gonna shed a lot of tears about the mayor of Baltimore. Just kidding, we don't never. That's a
Mm-hmm.
joke. But from a standpoint of what they're willing to do to protect the press about him doing all this evil, like you know what I mean, and mostly
Right.
Homelander's evil is a wide variety of self-aggrandizement and laziness. You know what I mean? Like a vast majority of the things Homelander does that are literally evil are because he's too lazy to be bothered to not do something evil, right? Uh, so he
Right.
flies into this one of these super villains that they've pumped up full of V, and he just kills this guy so easily, and he just goes, oh well, and he kills him and kills a guy behind him, and then leaves, and it's all on tape, right?
Right.
And even his nonchalant,
Right.
whatever about it, all of it's on tape, and so he starts cratering in the polls, and he doesn't find out about it till like the next day because he's just not like he doesn't even have a cell phone because why would he? Right? What does he need to get? He doesn't need
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
messages right away. He can wait.
Right. Right.
So
Did we see him with a cell phone later in like the episode too, or was that his cell
I don't
phone?
know.
You know.
He hooked
Okay.
up. Well, this is the other thing that happened. So he is now debased in the eyes of America, and so he turns
Yeah.
to Stormfront to manage and manicure his sort of online presence. And she has a troll farm of people
Right.
that she can employ to push bullshit memes at him through, to sort of push back against the pretty much extremely true and proven by video arc that he is a sort of a piece of shit. Uh,
Right.
this
Right.
this is something that again, as art imitates life, sometimes people will deny that they're on tape when they're on tape.
It's called
And here's
doubling
the
down.
thing:
Yeah.
when you are a nihilist, when you have no principles whatsoever, if that's the way your life is governed, then the will to power is the will to power, and you do the things you have to do to stay in power. Now, Homelander is a nihilist in that way because he only respects power. It's the only thing that even gets him off.
It's a classic pimp move. When you have your hoe and you have the one that you're, trying to dominate and everything, and she catches you in the act with another female or whatever, you always deny. Even if she caught you right red-handed, straight in the, you say you didn't
Shaggy
do it.
Has the whole number one record about this from 15, 20 years ago.
It wasn't me.
So I want to talk about who these characters are, Stormfront and Homelander, and what they're doing here. And I want to talk about, because I think, again, we're at Stormfront and Homelander, right? I want to talk about what they're up to. And I want to say it like this. Not to talk about these things would be a disservice to the creators of this art. So I'm going to bring them up. Homelander, when you think about the timeline, like Homelander's probably about 40, 45, right? Something like that. I mean, I figured born around 1975. That's my guess, right? Just looking at how everybody else's birth dates. So this means the reason Homelander is probably because he showed up in 2001 or 2002, right? Turn of the century, and they put him in this patriotic garb, and he's just this sort of like uncaring. I don't want to say even malevolence, but he's amoral. Like he's amoralistic, right? So it's this jingoistic sort of America first foreign policy, aggressive, muscular foreign policy. You need us to kill the super bad guys that are coming after you all over the world, right? This is Homelander, okay?
Right.
So Stormfront is obviously sort of a different kind of nihilist because we get a scene here with A-Train where she's being, sort of aggressively, like microaggressive toward him. You know what I mean? She's saying like trash people and bullshit like that. We know what she means.
Yeah.
So she's a different kind of Nazi, but she's still a Nazi. And these people were all created by WONT. So we know they were all reared by Nazis. Because you wouldn't give the super serum to someone who's not going to come out a Nazi. Why would you do that?
why would you
Could you imagine if you just mess up, give the wrong kid the V, and all of a sudden you've got, Captain Sickle, and you know what I mean? You would ruin everything if Stalin all of a sudden got in control of a superhuman, right? Because Stalin would use them appropriately. He would push down the cult of personality. He would have them doing the super agent stuff. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have them running around trying to get credit because Stalin wants the credit. All right. So what does this marriage mean? A sort of the old the old stump Naziistic, German Nazi partyistic imagery. The marriage of that with liberty, who is obviously a metaphor and a symbol for white Southern racism. I mean, I feel like this has to be these things are all coming together, and this unholy alliance has happened where this sort of jingoistic, muscular, militaristic, external nationalism has mixed with this nihilistic, winner-take-all, underpinned by direct racism and also Magneto-style racism. So both are at play here, I think.
Right.
What does it say that those two entities are having literal raw dog superhero floaty sex at the end of this episode? I mean, Jesus Christ. Awesome. I mean, it's graphic, and it's probably the funniest sex scene on film since Team America World Police, in my opinion. A very funny sex scene. This whole thing, I mean, the metaphors are right. If you ever want to see a bunch of stock footage of like hot dogs, you know what I mean, coming off of a conveyor belt or a train going in a tunnel, it's pretty much as, it's just about as funny as that. So check that out if you stopped watching early.
Yeah, but with Stormfront, she recognizes opportunity. She's actually been recognized the opportunity with Homelander. So she fills him out, in the first few episodes and everything, and sees a point where she can actually pounce, literally, right in this episode. And we see like the unholy union between them, together. She recognizes like a insecurity, a flaw within Homelander that she can actually, can manipulate and control. And because she's sort of like the brains behind the operation, she's sort of looking at Homelander as like the brawn, the strength, and the symbol and everything is right there. She can't be where Homelander is. She can never be in his position because number one, she's not a man. And number two, Homelander is Homelander. That's just, who he is and everything. So let's try to win him over. Let's try to manipulate him. Let's try to, flirt with him and just get him, with his weakness and everything. And she exploits that, and hands him right now at the palm in a palm of her hand.
I mean, we know Homelander likes mommies. He's looking for a mom. I mean, this is obvious. I mean, it's shown everywhere where before they hooked up, he's looking for milk. He's going into Stillwell's breast milk reserve, which I guess that's probably a good.
He's looking for the validation,
exactly.
And this is what Stormfront recognizes and actually is giving it to him and everything. And I love the way Aya Cash just plays her, in like the sweet, sarcastic. It's a combination of sweet, then sarcasm, and then coming in for the kill type of mode. And she does that great when nobody else can really control Homelander. She comes in to actually make that happen.
It has a very sort of like Caesar and Cleopatra almost vibe, where they're two very formidable people that sort of have crashed into each other, and they have different sort of expertises. Like they have different sort of complementary strengths. And I think that's a terrifying thing to think about because what happens when you have sex, DP? What happens when you do that? I mean, naturally.
Hey, at some point,
what do you end up with? I mean, what's the first thing they tell you in sex ed? What is it? If you have sex, what will happen? I mean, apart from your dick will fall off, because that's what they taught us in West Virginia.
Oh yeah,
apart
yeah,
from all
yeah,
that,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
the other thing that could happen if you just start doing it?
The woman can have a child.
Can have a child. And here is the thing, and this is what I've seen, and this is my concern with the plot. All right. So Homelander is Homelander because we've been told he's Homelander because his mother was given a lot of V when he was in utero, right? All right. But we also know, because Ryan exists, that genetically you can pass your powers on, right? You can pass them on. Here's my posit. All right.
Well, fully established.
Well, it's been inferred. It's been implied.
Okay,
You're right.
okay,
it's not been
okay.
confirmed. They haven't, but we know Ryan has powers. We don't know that he wasn't injected with the V. You're right. You're absolutely right. But they've not told us, and I think
they haven't told us otherwise.
The reason they're keeping it so secret is because of that. This is why I'm thinking those things. So you're absolutely correct. Okay. Could they just be like, hey, Hitch, F you, man, fuck you, man. Yes.
hashtag HITCH,
So I mean, I'll leave the door open a little bit. I'm not gonna.
All right.
Slam shot, but I think that's the big secret here. So look. So what is the end game? What did Cleopatra want from Caesar more than anything, and what did she get from Caesar that made her so powerful? The answer is Caesarion, Caesar's son. So here's the terrifying thing, and here's where I think they maybe are going with this. So we saw Ryan exhibit some of Homelander's powers, previous strength, the Cyclops style eyeball thing. Got those things. We know that Liberty didn't have lightning sort of powers. Those weren't really on her, her card, her character card.
Right.
If we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Those weren't there. So where are those from? Right? Either Stormfront is some enhanced version of Liberty, or there's something else afoot. And my thing is, what if you can pass on your powers to your progeny, but you could do that with more than one set of powers, and they amplify?
Oh, wow.
Because does it seem to me that they're positioning Stormfront as the second strongest member of the Seven? You know what I mean? Like kind of Wonder Woman. Yeah. And I don't mean that's slot, right? Number two.
Because how do you talk to Homelander? Homelander is like the alpha, like the you just don't mess with Homelander. Maeve is like terrified of her.
Yeah.
All the members of the Seven are just like, Homelander, bow to the,
They've seen him do stuff.
Yeah, they've seen him do stuff and everything. They've seen like the ramifications if you make this guy angry.
Right.
Stormfront comes in and just talks to him any old type of way.
Right.
She plays coy and sometimes back up, but she comes in and just, yes, they are positioning her, as like that, the Cleopatra.
So what do you do when you have? I mean, because once you break the news that that they can have kids and they do, it's not such a big deal. So who? This is what I think the end game is for Stormfront. That's what she's after. Now I know that's an extremely misogynist thing to say, that all she's after is the man's seed. obviously she has some other extremely racist political goals.
Hey,
Let's give her
you're
credit
going
for
by
that
history,
too, right?
but you're going by history there. So all we could do is, especially when we talk on these shows, guys, we're referencing history and sort of bringing them up in different scenarios and what they mean, like with us today, and also what they mean, and how they relate to the show.
Yeah. So we have a good time, and I think remember, these writers and these authors, these illusions are always intentional because they know more. They thought about these things a lot more than us because they got paid too. We do this stuff for free, so they did it on the clock. We didn't do that stuff.
Making stuff up as they go along.
Yeah. Oh, I want to do. Okay, I'm ready now. We're about halfway through the show now, something like that. I want to talk about our cartoon kill of the week. This was my I like yelled like, oh shit, like I got up and like had to walk around and like pause and stuff after this. But Kimiko pulling that Armenian guy's face clean off his head.
Oh man,
Oh
that
my
was
God.
That was hilarious. Is that a crazy way to define that scene?
It is.
Yo, yeah, she put in some work on that scene right there. Frenchy came in, was like, oh, what the heck?
I mean, he looked like the Joker from, you know what I mean, with the face ripped off. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, really. But I love that this show sort of always, if someone's going to get mangled up and they're not a main character, they always sort of let us know, this person was a piece of shit anyway. You know what I mean? They never, like, take you where you're going to be like, oh, these poor people in a social club.
The guy before Kimiko came in was talking about he was talking about Hamilton. He was downgrading Hamilton.
Yeah.
Of course he had to go. I mean, that was like your first clue right there.
I mean, was race an important component in the life of a youth in St. Nevis? I mean, of course, Ron Chernow in Hamilton says that you couldn't live in that society without profiting from the slave trade as a white person because of how rife it was. So obviously, we understand race is a big important part of the Enlightenment world, in the world of the 18th century. We don't need to be told by this show. Anyway. Sorry, guys. So anyway, keep your eyes peeled for that project.
All right.
Coming up soon.
Shameless plug.
That's
all
right. This is the only channel we get to do that on. We don't have... It's not like I'm going to go home and not talk about it on my my TV show on KDK, right? It's not going to be the case.
Big question.
Yeah.
Okay, before you get into that, what was Marvin watching on his laptop? Do we have an idea what that was?
It was like,
that'd be something.
What show? It was like some what type of show? What show was that? It was like a
it looked like some sort of soap opera. I mean, if you guys know what it was, they definitely leave it in the comments and everything. But
he's creating
usually
this, fake world where he still has his family together, and obviously he doesn't. He's not dealing with the separation from his daughter and his woman. He's not dealing with it real great.
Well, remember last season, he was talking to his wife about not missing episodes of certain shows and everything, So maybe he's catching up on his laptop.
He's got time now that he's in hiding.
Because the response he gave to Huey, he was like, "I'm watching Eat My Dick."
Yeah.
You gotta love MM, man. I mean, he's a funny dude.
I think Marvin is really funny. I like Marvin a lot. He's I thought he was really funny when he came up behind Huey and he said, "You got to get me," and he's holding that electrical wire. You know what I mean? The stripped wire is like. I thought this was a great episode for the boys. So let's talk about the boys now. That's why we have this show. We talk about the villains because they're characters that are not, you don't find them anywhere else. Right. So they're interesting to us. So we talk about them first. But now we're going to talk about the boys. This is the part where we talk about the boys. So we talked about Kimiko going in, and now she's doing jobs. Basically, she's doing hits because she, it's not like you or I having to do a hit and having to get amped up and, maybe we'll die and you know what I mean. We gotta, someone's left the gun on the behind the toilet thing.
Right.
We're gonna come out.
Right.
It's not like that for her because she just walks in and kills everybody and leaves. So she makes like $100 or whatever a head. Fine with her. It's like a couple hours of work. Goes home.
Yeah.
That's what Kimiko's up to. Frenchie's sort of following her around.
Right.
Because he's lost because he doesn't have anything else. And then Huey gets a call from Billy. And Billy has sort of gone, has taken a physical beating to make up for his emotional beating that he took from Becky last week.
Yeah. Right.
Which is an interesting sort of way to kind of put that, right? Just wanting to be kicked and punched and
Yeah, I
like the
mean it's
outside
a
matching
different
inside.
side of Billy that we're seeing and everything, during the first majority of the first season and even part of this, season and everything. We see Billy as like the alpha of the group and everything. He's being like, jokey and smart and, coming in dominating like in the first, the first episode he came in and said, daddy's home,
Hmm.
making sure that everyone knew that he was in charge. And we get that sly Billy, great smile that he has whenever he's about to set up a good sly remark and
Right.
everything. But since talking with Becca, since his bout with Becca, and since she pretty much just put him to the side, or let
Chose her
him know that
son, which is
chose her son over him.
yeah.
He's heartbroken in a way, so he's in a depressive type state. He's going to Fresh Farms, foods or whatever, bought Fresh Farms, buying like teddy bears and stuff. He's feeling a certain type of way, and he gives Huey a call
Yep.
and talks about him being the canary, which is really
Which
interesting.
is exactly what Marvin told him last week. And so as
Right,
soon as Huey repeats
right.
that to Marvin, Marvin knows there's trouble.
Yeah, I love I love the callback and the way they circle back around. So we as an audience know what it means, but the character Huey
Yeah.
is just now finding that out.
Tell me
What does that
exactly
mean?
what he said.
Tell exactly what he said.
And we're led
But
to
yeah, we're
this
seeing
sort of like
a different side of Billy.
and we're led to this pocket of Billy's life we didn't know about. We're led to
Yeah.
his Aunt Judy and his dog Terror the Bulldog. And you know me, because I have a pit bull and I have a Dalmatian. I have two dogs. They're big dogs. Love my big dogs. So, I was really feeling this. This sort of going back home, getting the pet, this long conversation. And I will say this: there is no greater thing in the world to have with you if you need to have an existential conversation than a dog. That is who you want to have on the other side of that line 100% of the time, because they just understand. They look at you and they're like, "Yeah, man, it is what it is." They're like, "Hey, man, I like to smell a poop. What are you gonna
I'm
do?"
with you. I'm with you all the way. Can we go for a walk?
Yeah. So we're just
You know?
walking. So I was thinking about my dogs as we watched that. Really liked that a lot. I liked Aunt Judy a lot. I mean, Aunt Judy, the drug
Yeah.
dealer with the Taffy Room. This is just
oh,
so funny. And I want to.
and Black Noir just hanging out on a
Oh, the
rooftop,
rooftop hiding, just like just waiting.
in a nice suburban neighborhood, not like in a dark. And this is a funny thing about this show. It's not like they were in the like dark in the night. It's nighttime, and you have Black Noir just hanging out in shadows and stuff. He's in the bright day of light on the roof. Where Butcher could visually see that he's hanging out
like
there.
they zoom in on him like it's like he's watching someone through binoculars in a Wes Anderson movie. You know what I mean? Like he's in the bushes in the Royal Tenenbaums and he's gonna go. You know what I mean? Like what a great scene this is, where you have this monster. Who knows what the deal is with Black Noir at this point? I mean, just some sort of T-800 and unkillable machine. And
I forget that he has that sort of invulnerability like that, because I think he displayed it a couple times last season, but Black Noir doesn't really do so much, so you sort of forget what his actual powers and stuff are. So we see a bit of that in this episode.
I really liked how they shot that scene where Black Noir came in and we heard all the booms, you know what I mean? All the big loud explosions, and then they all went upstairs and it was just like completely like the whole house was gutted and like totally destroyed.
Yeah.
And then Noir just sort of like walks out, like just like, "Hey guys, I'm here." It's like I love that they portray it as he's bored, like he's just bored with it. He has to do this stuff. And I really enjoyed the fight. I thought this was a good fight, obvious overmatch, and the boys acquitted themselves well. They always seem to have this weird they always seem to have the upper hand on these guys. Like Butcher always seems to have an escape plan somehow, no matter what he has to burn, and he's willing to burn Becca.
Oh, he's burned a lot.
What do you think is going to happen to her now that Vought knows that Butcher knows about Ryan and her? I mean, as pictures and evidence and stuff?
she's still like the ace in the hole, because she's Ryan's mom, so that's really the only thing that's controlling Ryan, because he has like the powers and stuff. So she's still needed. You know,
these guys, this generation of supers, you know, because you have to assume with the public knowledge that, you know, Compound V is being given to children. This is gonna, any child that's like in 5 years that's 5 and starts punching cars, you know what I mean, and starts lifting, lifting trees out of the ground and stuff. They're gonna know that the parents shot them up with this chemical after everybody knew about it. It's gonna be totally different. So how do you perpetuate? Right. How do you continue producing the product that moves the money for VOT if you can't rely on Jesus and God to distribute superheroes mostly to white people? What do you do? What do you do to maintain the status quo? Well, you already have the population set up the way you want it. All you have to do is, you know, the Abrahamic thing, right? Go forth and be fruitful and multiply. And next thing you know, I mean, how many Homelanders would it take to take over the world? 0? You need 1/2 of a Homelander to take care of everything, right? That's it. Half a Homelander, and you got like 3 of them now, maybe 4. Who knows how many Homelanders you'll have by the end of this? You know, a lot of shows that have the Superman mythos that are similar to that, like Dragon Ball Z, for instance, has a lot of similarities to the Superman mythos. And in Dragon Ball Z, Goku's son Gohan is actually the strongest person. He's actually the strongest natural fighter. So makes you, it's interesting to see, like, you know, is Homelander powerful because of the early state where this compound was introduced to him, or is he powerful because of the amount he got? Because if it's from
a great question.
When he got it, you would think that the naturally conceived would have received this initially, and if you figure exponential cell growth, getting in from 1 would have a huge like impact than getting it after 5 trillion. You know what I mean? If you're talking about exponential curves, and since this is 2020, we all know about exponential growth curves this year. Learned a lot this year about exponential growth. Radical, man. It's some cool stuff on this show.
Yeah, it's a funny thing too. If you picked up to where Homelander being what he is and everything, we now have like people on his side trying to take him down, and also we started out with the boys. We already knew the boys was trying to take down the 7, and especially Homelander with Billy Butcher. Now we have Queen Maeve. You know, she, because of the situation with her girlfriend and everything, she wants to protect her girlfriend. So, you know, she comes out basically saying, we got to take this motherfucker down. You know what I'm saying? So that's another person. We got A-Train, who is sort of like, on a turn, because the 7 is sort of booting him out, mainly Homelander.
You know who A-Train is? A-Train is like when like Tom Brady playing for Tampa Bay, or like, you know what I mean? He's like when Franco Harris went and played for the Seahawks, or when Joe Montana played for the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got the, like, you know what I mean? He's still gonna play. Like, he's gonna be like Marshawn Lynch. He's coming back. Like, this isn't gonna keep. He just loves the game. He just loves the superheroing. You know what I mean? Like, I think he'll be back. So I think this is. I love that. Like we was talking last week. I love the sports team angle in this. Right? Like, you gotta produce. You gotta be actually fast. Like, what if I'm faster than anyone can perceive? It doesn't matter. You still want the fastest.
Yeah. And he's taking his drugs to keep him like that and everything. But is the end game, or do we even want to call it like an end game of this show, is to have as many characters against Homelander to where they're at some point teaming up, in a fight against these Homelander and possibly Stormfront, who actually may end up being like a companion to him. It's an interesting thing. You got Starlight, who's trying to take him down. Everybody's trying to take down the 7 and Homelander. And it's an interesting thing to see these threads sort of like, which was together, sort of like, bust out, get us, get itself picked apart like that.
Yeah, things are really, Homelander's got the deck stacked against him here, and he also is unable to control himself. He had this moment during this protest that the AOC analog. They just say it's just AOC. Man. So the AOC protest against him, he jumps down there and he has this tense sort of confrontation where he just says a bunch of like vapid bullshit and leaves. But we're treated to like what Homelander wants to do. which reminded me of nothing else than being 12 years old and having a 10-year-old little brother who was like 1.5 my size. And it was just like, that's exactly what it was. Because, we'd get in these, we'd get in little fights because we were kids. And then I'd be looking at him and I'd be like, what would happen if I really just lost it?
Because I've been holding myself back, this whole time and everything. What if I just
you know what? Parents aren't around. It'd be a long time before someone could stop me. I mean, if I really needed to get the, you know what I mean? Like, it's exactly like that. Because you could, you can. You just can't do it. So my jaw was dropped. This show's great because until they came back and showed you the cheat, right? Until they did the hat tip, the prestige of the little trick there, I believe with every fiber of my being that was legit. And they were just like, you know what? We're just rocketing ahead in the plot 5 seasons. This is just it. We're here.
Yeah, well, you may have thought of it that way. I was like, this is too early for this to be happening like that, because if Homelander is all of a sudden just taking it out on these people, that's a really great leap in plot, and you're just like really taking your chances on really throwing all your chips to the table, and or is this show ready for that? I mean, you like a slow build, but for it to jump over the hump like that, I mean, at this point, I'm glad it was a dream. It was definitely a cheat. Some tropes that you've seen before in plenty of other shows, but we're not ready to see that side of Homelander as of yet, I guess.
Well, nobody's complaining that much. It's okay. I mean, it's all right. You're allowed to cheat a little bit if you want to. If it's done for shock value, if you're gonna blow a disrespectful soldier, and he was disrespectful, his middle finger off, and then murder 1,000 people. And then not the Congresswoman, which I thought was just, I was just like, is he going to do it? And he just didn't. Like, he's like, I don't have to kill her. Like, it just don't have to, I don't have to. Man, this show has a way of sort of threading in the cartoonish violence that would be the pure outcome of all of these things, and if you punch someone with the force of 500 people, they would liquefy. And I think this show is great because these people liquefy. You know what I mean? The real consequences of the actions happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you take it any other way, as far as a cartoonist mind, it'd be very depressing. But that's not the way this show is built on. I mean, it has this dark sense of humor and everything, which I appreciate. Because, you come to this show at the very least to be entertained, and it, throws you some bones of, definitely retrospection. But the great thing about it is, it also throws in like that, the pulpy craziness of the cartoonish violence and everything,
This show, you can't take it all the way seriously.
Like,
it never lets you get. It's never like Game of Thrones where we're gonna be huddled in the basement of the pawn shop singing about, oh, they'll all be dead by morning. That's never gonna happen on this show, right? There's never gonna be some extremely, overwrought knighting ceremony that's totally undercut by the Deus Ex Machina resolution of the plot of Wonderful. Anyway, sorry guys. Check out my blog on that. So.
Right.
So what are you the most excited to see? Like, what confrontation are you the most excited to see get resolved here as we roll into the second half of this season?
Well, I want to see more on Becca and Billy. Right now Billy's in a way where he has to come back to being Billy. We want to see Billy be Billy. That's what makes. That's the other end of, Homelander is one thing, but the other end of what makes the show fun is Billy and how he acts and interacts and does his thing and actually goes out and be a leader, for the boys and everything. So I'm kind of anxious to see how that part of Billy gets resolved and how, just seeing more Becca and everything.
I'm interested to see Billy, like you were saying, reach out more to Huey and really naturally allow him more into the decision-making process. Because I think what we're seeing is a mirror between what Homelander's doing and what Billy's doing, right? And Billy has enemies, and they're powerful, and they're enemies that they're all over him, but he doesn't have Homelander's power. He is stuck having to resolve these problems, but Homelander could just skate away from him.
Right.
I'm super interested to see how we resolve, this mystery of who Liberty is. I think that's the mystery of this season, because whether there's some sort of de-ageification going on or some sort of project with the V that makes her younger, or she's someone's daughter or clone.
Or cloned. Yep, I got that inference right there during the episode. So that's definitely a possibility.
Who is Adele really? There's so many great there's a lot of really great mysteries sort of bound up in her character, since she obviously isn't what she says, and obviously she's the I don't know, you can pick which type of unctuous Nazi you hate more, the uber patriot or the skinhead. I don't care which you choose. They're both quite unctuous in my opinion. But we're finding out that, it turns out if you're the 7, you don't have to choose between which type of racist Nazi piece of shit to be. You can be both at the same time. And that's what's so magical about being a racist Nazi piece of shit, I guess, right? That's what's so great.
Yeah, you're a celebrity, so you can put on a face on one end, and then behind the scenes, you're a whole nother person. Starlight, she's talking about how she admires like Stormfront and everything, and how she was relating to her like in the beginning of the episode. By the time she gets to her talking with her mom and everything, she's seeing sort of like a different side of Stormfront in a way. And then, very manipulative. And then when she gets and starts trying to find different things on Stormfront in her trailer and stuff, we see that confrontation there. So that's another exciting confrontation that we're seeing with Stormfront and Starlight and Stormfront.
And we'll see that soon. We're gonna see. I think we're gonna have to see what makes everyone so afraid of Mr. Edgar. Why are they so terrified of this guy? Because they take orders from him like it's nobody's business. And Homelander's shtick seems to be like he wants to create a nobility of the supers, and he's the king. That seems to be his end game here. Because he wants to be loved, right? He wants the points to go up. He wants people to appreciate what he's doing in their name.
Yeah. Yep.
So, otherwise he'd just kill everybody, and who knows, maybe he will just kill all the adults and start over with kids at some point. That'd get the job done for him probably in one generation. And a lot of kids will die too, but as long as some survive, and there'll be enough extra.
Hey, just enough to have him worship you, I guess.
That's right. And remember, what does Machiavelli tell us? What is it better to be? It is better to be feared than loved, because when you're feared, people don't fuck with you. And you can always rely on that. Love is a fickle thing. Just ask Homelander, I guess. Goodness gracious. Yeah. They say love makes you weak and everything. Nobody, I guess, wants to be weak in that aspect and everything. So that's why they choose the power-hungry folks choose fear. That's right. Fear is always an effective weapon. Phobos, it's the ruler of the battlefield. It's the thing they have to drill out at you when you're in basic training. It's a very powerful drug. It's the villain of Green Lantern. So, also the color yellow, which is a very literal translation of that word. All right, so that I'm rounding it up. What else we got? You got anything else you want to talk about, DP? Or you kind of?
The episode ended off with great, floaty sex, like you said.
One of the funniest, definitely the funniest sex scene. The shoot my tits thing is next level hilarious. Next level hilarious.
And Stormfront is very sadomasochistic. Yep. We learned this about her. She loves the pleasure and the pain of Homelander just pounding her.
Well, what else could make her feel pain? When you think about it, if you were impervious to all harm until Homelander burns you, you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
So you're dead on the inside, really, when you think about it from that perspective. I'm super stoked to see what we got left. And
3 episodes left here.
Big ones.
So
and then we will be back on our beat for The Mandalorian Season 2. Coming.
Ooh, can't wait.
The season starts October 30th. I know we're excited for that over here at Nerdcyclopedia. We're going to have our team back together. Ken and Tony both returning, which is a really awesome thing. We're super excited about that.
Awesome. We may even review the recent trailer that just came out, so check for that maybe in the next few weeks.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
To get sort of like a preview of the season 2 that's coming up.
Yeah. Check that out. We'll see, check out the stuff about the Mandalorian's production. I'm sure I'll be geeking out about that this year. We'll have a little thing where I'll talk about the volume. We're talking about that stuff. We really enjoy having you here with us here on Nerds Talk About the Boys, and we really appreciate everyone sticking with Nerdcyclopedia. Please subscribe and check us out on social media, both on Twitter and on Instagram, and check us out individually on both Twitter and Instagram. And for me, check out my video game stream on Twitch, where you'll see me beat Mega Man and other such games very quick. DP, you got anything else for our fans before we nod off here, before we check out?
Hey, I got a book coming out.
Oh, yes! This is exciting.
Be checking out my Kickstarter. I'll be doing that in about the next couple months here. So just giving you a little bit of a teaser right now. So we'll see how that goes.
I've seen the first several pages of the pencils and I think the inks. I think the inks are done. I've seen the script for this thing. It is excellent. Check it out. Prescient, interesting, mind-bending tale of time travel. I highly recommend checking out DP's book. It's very, very good.
I highly recommend it as well. Make sure that you follow me.
Follow him and buy his stuff. Or else we'll give you the business. Just like if you don't give us a 5-star review. All right, everybody. So that is going to be it for us today. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week for episode 6, titled Lord Knows What. I am Hitch.
And I'm DP.
And we're the nerds. We talked about the boys. It's exactly what the fuck you thought. See you.